Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
Jackaroo Diva, oh, nothing's gonna change my world. Hang on a second. Nothing's gonna change my world. Better. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world. Okay, that's enough.
Possessing and caressing me. That's right.
And we're back!
Shout out to the Beatles, of course, and that little dumb, wacky intro of Mumford using a massage device to get some more vibrato in his voice is just a little bit of a symbolism for the show today. We're going to talk about using what you have for your creativity, using what you have in front of you, using what is affecting you, using something, an experience that might have just happened to you. Little shout out to a friend. If you had a horrible encounter at a gas station recently, put that feeling into your work immediately. Get home, paint, transmute that into your work immediately. Now, why do I say this? Because I think artists are in a very unique position. We are both sensitive, typically, like highly sensitive HSPs. You down with HSP? Yeah, you know me. Yeah, we're kind of both HSPs, which is hypersensitive people, and also very evolved, I would say, in the fact that we can use our experiences and use our emotions and whatever's happened to us, even our traumas, and like in my circumstances, like the trauma and the chronic pain, I've been using that for the last 4 years. And yes, I'm still struggling with it, but it helps me. We are in a unique position to use those things and transmute them into our work and therefore get them out and turn them into something good and something maybe positive and maybe even something that impacts society and other people when they view it. So that's what we're going to talk about today a little bit. Not that we haven't already been talking about it. It reminds me of something that Eckhart Tolle talks about a lot, which is the ducks on the pond. The ducks on the pond, when they get angry or when they get into a fight or something, really stressful happens to them really quickly, they flap their wings really aggressively and then they kind of just like settle back into the pond. And you can see it's almost been that energy or that stress or whatever negative emotion they were feeling in that moment, they channeled it really quickly into this intense physicality, and then it just, almost evaporated. And then they just settle into the pond again and swim off like nothing happened. A lot of us, unfortunately, as hypersensitive people, HSPs, and, maybe trauma survivors, a lot of us have that inability because it kind of imprints your physiology, it imprints your brain, it imprints your tissues even, and it's much harder to get rid of that, especially when you're a kid, when it happens and you don't have the ability to process that in the moment. You don't have the tools at your disposal to kind of understand that you need to process it. So a lot of times that happens later in life. But the good news is, as artists, we can always work through that process by talking about it, doing cognitive behavioral therapy, doing certain things, nootropics and adaptogens, psychedelics, and different strategies that are out there nowadays that we didn't have before, and obviously putting it into our work. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the creative process today because we've had a few episodes where we haven't really talked about the creative process. And, obviously being an artist is very broad and it's multifactorial, if you will, to being an artist, like the things that go into being an artist and into building our creativity, our practice, our careers, and so on and so forth. So what could that look like using what you have? For me, that means anything that's affecting you in the moment. I always talk about the obstacle as a way. I typically talk about that more as a strategy in your art career, but the obstacle is also the way when it comes to the creative process, because you might think you're going through something horrible, or you might be going through something terrible. I've been there, believe me, many times. And the only thing that really makes me feel drastically better is when I use that pain and suffering. Like I might be in my head and feeling like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. I can't believe this is happening to my life. I can't believe my life is falling apart. Why me? You know, all this stuff that you can do, you can fall into this downward negative spiral. But what you do as an artist, and the gift that we have as an artist, and what I've been doing, is I just go, no. I'm going to bottle this up. I'm going to channel this, and I'm going to take it into the studio. I'm going to smash that bottle, and I'm going to pour it into my art. And I do that all the time. And it's the only thing that really gives me immediate and sometimes drastic improvement on these things. Now, if there's an underlying problem, you also have to work on eradicating that or working on that or fixing that problem that's underneath the surface. But it does give you kind of a working through it type of model, and it's very effective in the moment. So if you're doing that in conjunction with another therapy or some other things like some dietary stuff, some nootropics, some other therapies, then it can be even more effective and heightened by those combinations. So, but on a smaller level even, let's just take another example. Let's say somebody cuts you off on the freeway, right? And in the moment you're like, oh, you mother, what are you doing? Like, what? I get upset about these things. If somebody cuts you off, then yeah, that's going to bother you. And, if you're having a really bad day, you might even carry that through for your day, but that's probably not going to affect you long-term unless you're just compounding certain things that are already weighing on your nervous system. So what I would recommend in those circumstances is if you're angry, if it's making you feel something else, if it's even pulling up some other emotions, get into the studio right away and turn that into some art. Now you can turn that into an angry piece. That's great. You can turn it into a social commentary. If it's a political thing, if you're watching the debates the other night, which is just a shit show, obviously, I didn't watch it because I just try to heal now and I don't subject myself to things like that anymore. Like these media spectacles that are just out to feed our bloodlust and really nothing else. We all know what everybody stands for. I don't watch those things, but let's say you watched it and you got angered. You're on one side, you're on the other side. It doesn't really matter. It affects you. It makes you feel embarrassed. It makes you feel angry. It makes you feel enraged. It makes you feel like, everything in the fabric of our society and our political system is falling apart. Okay, take that, get into the studio, and turn that into the best political painting that you can make. If you're a pop surrealist, maybe that's a little easier. If you're an abstract artist, then you need to transmute that into your colors and into your gestures and into your textures and into the way you're moving in the studio. It's very effective. I always talk about Pollock. People have their very strong opinions about Pollock, but what set him apart from other artists was his emotions that go into the piece. The way he was kind of transmuting it through his motions on the canvas. Whether you believe it or not, I've seen a lot of Pollock knockoffs, and they are not the same. And I really believe it's because this person suffered almost more than any other artist I know. He had a lot of, demons. Just watch the Pollock movie, one of my favorites if you want to see more evidence of that. But we can take any of these things and we can use them and we can transmute them. If you're going through a situation where you're sick or you have chronic pain or a family member unfortunately passed away, you can also pour that into your work. It doesn't always have to be right on the nose. It doesn't have to be like, something sad happened, therefore I'm going to create a sad piece. No, it can be something sad happened, and I'm going to use this to transmute it into the studio and into my work and make it into this beautiful, colorful landscape or, this flowery, beautiful scene, the colors that are emitting joy and the energy is vibrating off the piece. And it's just a happy, wonderful, effective piece. That's also wonderful because like a magician, you're taking something negative and turning it into a positive. You are truly transmuting a feeling into something else. And that is something that is so unique for us as artists and something that I'm constantly amazed by and something I'm constantly grateful for in my own practice that I'm able to do stuff like that. A lot of people might not be able to see in my own work what I've been suffering with over the past 4 years in the work itself, but it's all in there, believe me. I would have not have been able to create these impactful works and, works that are infused with so much emotion if I hadn't gone through this. So it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. You have to embrace life. You have to embrace some of the struggles. You have to embrace the pains and some of these teachable moments even in life where you're embarrassed or something happens, somebody cuts you off on the freeway or somebody does something stupid to you and it's unconscious. Well, you've got two choices. You can either let it affect you and ruin your day, or you can take that and turn it into a beautiful piece of artwork. And therefore, it is out of your body and it's out into the world and it's creating something good. Now, you can do a really intense piece that is also, like a fuck you to the world or to the situation. That's fine also. But I would argue that even that is beautiful. And even that has the ability to affect people and to touch people in a way and to maybe even create change. So really, any way we express these situations, these experiences in our life is positive as an artist, because the alternative is you're just a normal person who just lets it sit on your subconscious and, get into your nervous system and slowly rot you from the inside out. And then you become one of these people who's screaming into an echo chamber on social media. And that's not good for anybody. So do the alternative, channel these experiences and put them into your artwork. You definitely won't be disappointed in doing that. You'll feel better and the world will be a better place for it. And hey, maybe you'll inspire some people along the way. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick. It's always good to have a reminder. Maybe you're having a little bit of a block at the moment and you're just like, what do I do? Okay, well, if you're having a block, find that most recent experience you had that pissed you off, or that recent experience you had that made you sad or that made you depressed. And there you go. There's your inspiration right now. Take that. Try to revisit it a little bit in a healthy way. Don't re-traumatize yourself or anything, but revisit that in a healthy way and then go into the studio and just put it out there into your work. And I guarantee you, you're going to sigh a sigh of relief afterward. You're going to be like, why do I feel better? I don't know, but I think that was effective. Hope this means something to you, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast. As always, we will be bringing you a new episode next week. 4th of July is coming up. If you celebrate that and enjoy that, have a good time, be safe, and we'll see you next time on the next episode.
Some people want to fill a world with silly love songs. Well, what's wrong with that? I'd like to know. 'Cause here I go again. I love you. I love you. All right, that's it. I'm done. I gotta turn this fucking thing off.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.